Thursday, stardate 2016.104 at 21:59 Eastern Standard Time. Yes, we're slightly early. Tonight, our panel ready for 11.5 to give you the good, the bad, the ugly, and the what the heck is happening here. We'll start off with our Chief Logistics Officer, my main man here, TimberWolf. Sir, lead us off with a good how. We have our Chief Instructor who's trying to break the game more often than she cracks the whip over people's skulls, TeacherKirby.
Hey, now, I'm not the one breaking the game. That's SOB lately. Anyway, hi everybody, how's it going?
Speaking of our Chief of Cheesy Tactics, I hear you have some really good cheese that's about to get squashed. And there's going to be some really disappointed folks out there.
The cheese, I'll miss it, but I will enjoy the QQ more.
Thank you very much, Captain SOB. Our Chief Ironic Medic back from medical leave and rescuing people out there. And I heard you just busted out some stupidly awesome heals around here in 11.5.
I did. I know who the good are and I know who the bad are, but I'm still trying to figure out which one of us is the ugly.
Oh, I'm the ugly one. You know that.
No, you're just the loud one.
Okay.
125 KHA3 this morning. That's huge. Like 8,400 plus a tick, which is incredible. Maybe it's a bug. I don't know. But I'm claiming it.
Well, thank you very much, Captain NK. Our Chief Intelligence Officer, what intel do you have for us tonight, good Sarcasm Detector?
There's lots of good intel. In fact, some of it I passed it along to SOB, and we'll be discussing that a little bit later on in the show.
You're just encouraging him.
Yeah. Is this news? Wait, what?
We'll get to that later on.
God, the QQ.
Oh, well. Speaking of people waiting to see something out that this man will put out there for our entertainment and role-playing phenom, the Chief Emergency Role-Playing Hologram and Chief of Good Ship Porn out there, Zeph from Zeph Films.
Ooh, wait, I've been promoted to Chief?
Chief, yes. You are Chief now.
So that makes me a SERP, or a KERP, for short.
Something like that.
It's going to go to his head almost immediately.
Yeah, well, you know, it's just going to happen, so.
Anyway, good evening.
Well, thank you very much. You know what? We're just going to dive right in here. I want an initial assessment from everybody here on 11.5, how you received it, good, bad, indifferent, what's your performance like. Let's just keep it down to about a minute or less. We'll start with TeacherKirby. Go ahead, madam.
Well, it's been limited what I've been able to do, but I did get in today. I wasn't able to get in yesterday. I did get in today, and I'm liking what I'm seeing. I'm getting some good numbers. I'm tankier than I was before. And, but yeah, I mean, I've gone in with my tort boat into a CCA and almost gotten to 100K. My two side boats, similar stories. That's really, I mean, I've really seen my damage go up, what I've been able to pull. So it's been interesting. And I'm looking to do more tests as I get a chance, so hopefully I'll have more next time.
Thank you very much. TimberWolf, what about your assessment?
So far, it's been absolutely amazing. You know, I did all my tests on Tribble for weeks and weeks, trying to pour over it, and it's even better than I thought from Tribble. Quite honestly, a lot more survival, a lot more damage output. Matter of fact, I did a Pug ISA just to do a quick baseline test, and I've jumped up in Pug runs about 40K. I was doing about 85 on average in Pug runs. Now I'm doing 120 just on that baseline. So it's been a lot of power creep by a lot of people. That's what they're going to label it. But your survival's gone up as far as what you can do for tankiness, and I'm enjoying the hell out of it.
Thank you very much, good sir. Captain MK, what do you think?
Well, of note, again, I'm not really a DPS guy, so my DPS hasn't gone up much. I finally cracked 40k, which was great. But to echo what everyone else has said, it seems to be an improvement across the board for most people, which is exactly how I would build it. You know, you kind of do want to, if you're putting the players through a major change, I guess you kind of do want to give them a carrot, want to make them feel a little bit more powerful, and that's what they've done here. Again, it seems to be across the board better. However, of note, there are some changes on Holodeck versus the final build, the triple that we all saw. Some changes in DRB, some other things that some more of the mechanic guys might be able to comment on more intelligently than I would. But there are changes, and so it might behoove people to pick up a respec or two and try them out.
Thank you very much, sir. Our Chief Intelligence Officer, what's your assessment?
Well, you know, I don't like to give an opinion unless I've actually spent hours and hours with the subject that you want me to give the opinion on. But yeah, it seems to be fairly good. I mean, there's multiple areas we can discuss, and we're going to be breaking it down in a couple of minutes, and I prefer to go in depth at that point. But in general, yes, people have been seeing a DPS increase. That might change a little bit with some of the fixes coming in, and again, we're going to talk about that very soon. But overall, I believe it's going to be good for the community at large to get a little bit of a boost. I guess we can say it's a 10, 15, 20% boost in damage output. It'll make some of those pug runs a little bit easier, although I suspect there's going to be a lot of pugs out there that are actually going to be doing less damage than before. It wouldn't surprise me at all.
Thank you very much. We're definitely going to be going into a deeper assessment come week 2. I believe, SOB, you have some more detailed experience in this here as well. You and I will give our assessment, and then we'll go to Zeph Films for his.
Okay, so this season has just been glorious so far. As it's been mentioned, the power creep is quite real. Survivability is indeed up. Everything is up right now. I mean, it's the feedback pulse especially. I want to give a special shout out to feedback pulse. My Psi went from 120 to just under 200k with 68k from feedback pulse 3. I love this change.
Enjoy it while you can.
You're disgusting.
I love this cheese. I love the Science Ultimate. I have the Science Ultimate on all my characters right now.
Spencer,
it's great.
It's still fair to say though that that's kind of an edge case, that most people shouldn't be considering the ultimates unless they've got a real good reason to do that.
That is true. I would say for most people that the balanced approach is going to be the best approach. The TAC ultimate equals more lag for you with that extra calculations on the server via fire cycling haste.
Seen it.
And the engineering ultimate is just simply a joke.
Now, for those who don't know, please explain what the Science Ultimate does and go through each of the levels, and I'll back you up if you need anything there.
Okay, so the Science Ultimate, if you decide to dump 24 plus points into Science, which there's a lot of good Science stuff there anyways for survivability, you can... The first unlock you'd want to take would be double the duration of the Science Ultimate, so it lasts 30 seconds, so it'll have 1/3 uptime. Then the second point you'd want to put in would be the debuff. This means that anything you get a crit on will get a up to -50 debuff, and that can last up to 20 seconds after your thing is ended. But the other nice thing is the Science Ultimate itself sets your crit chance at 50%. You can't gain any crit chance above that while it's active, but that is amazing. And then the third point doubles all of your healing for 30 seconds. Which it's an amazing thing for tanks, for tank builds.
It's double on base healing, though, just to point out. So a lot of the consoles like the RIF and the SRF that modify it after that won't be affecting it. Just to point that out.
Interesting.
Yeah, but even at base, though, for a
It's still
person
huge,
like you,
still huge at base, but I tested Spencer, and it's double base and not double modified, which kind of sucks. Because my heals are heavily modified by that kind of thing, best defense, etc.
yeah, but even then, double base, that's
Oh, even
stupidly powerful.
no. In this case, it's not like weapon damage where base sucks. It's actually pretty good. But just to point that out, people that have heavily modified heal rates and things like that won't be seeing as much as they think.
Appreciate that. I had a huge concern, speaking on behalf of the kinetic community, I had a huge concern where a lot of the torpedo powers and torps themselves just wouldn't hit as hard as they did on Holodeck, especially when there was a change on the attack side from shield penetration to shield weakening. And for those who don't know, the shield weakening is just the reverse of shield hardening. Any damage that is going to be done to shields, extra damage will be done to it based off of that calculation. And the more points you put into it, the more extra damage that it will do to the shields for whatever damage that will be affected to shields. Now, our chief engineer has done some write-ups on this, as well as 2 other people on the Tribble thread and on Reddit. So I will include the links on that later on once I'm done with the show notes. But it is a perfect breakdown. I thank them all for contributing to this. It makes the calculations that much easier to be able to figure out in this combat system. With that said, up until the second to last day on Tribble, I was concerned that I would not get the same performance that I had on Holodeck. And my big measuring stick for this wasn't so much DPS, but actual performance. What targets can I kill on an alpha and move on to my next target and kill? And CSA blowing up the cubes while the nanites are still up and healing the cube itself. Now, for anybody who knows, if you don't have stupid amounts of firepower that can hit a target instantaneously, you could sit there and beat on that cube all day long, and it would heal up, and it will be healed by those nanites. So when I come in on my approach run, on Holodeck, prior to 11.5, I would have to burn TF, IF, TAC Team, Alpha and Omega, and maybe throw on a concentrate firepower, and then just unleash hell on that thing. Three firing salvos, and it's dead. And then I can move on to the next target. And then I typically either have to wait or just do it normally, would knock out the nanites on the second cube or the second shipyard, and then take out the cube. On Tribble, I couldn't even kill the first one with all of those buffs. I couldn't. No matter how I spec'd it, I just couldn't do it. So something was going on there. And initially, based off of conversations I've had with Bordicus, it could have been the strengthening strengths thread that he had out there where they were fixing the double dipping of buffs and debuffs. So I'm thinking, all right, you know what, we're going to get a bit of an issue here in dealing with this, but we'll adapt. We'll figure out what's going on. With the exact same spec on Holodeck now in 11.5, not only did I blow through the first cube, I also blew through the second cube, and I didn't use TF and IF. So the power creep is not only real, it's for freaking huge. It's tremendous. It's disgusting also, because now this trivializes content. Really trivializes it on the high end. So I'm kind of like, yeah, the booms are great, but there's nothing really solid to shoot at anymore.
Marshall, what high end?
Well, all right, yeah, HSE has been quote unquote fixed, which is nerfed to the ground now.
Yeah,
so.
they hurt our special attack cubes.
I know, I miss those suckers too. But yeah, I'm done with my rant. People take it up on the chat. Zeph, please give us your assessment. 2 out of 10
Cisco's.
Yeah, it was like a half a Cisco. Like puzzling, worrying, whatever.
You raise your voice very much.
No. I'm going to shut up now. Zeph, please give me your assessment.
So far, I think 11.5 is pretty good. Majority of people seem to be receiving it pretty well. The skill tree seems pretty simple, and yeah, yeah, I don't know. I lost my train of thought earlier. Sorry.
Well, why don't we
Well,
just break
how
it
about-
down? We'll go through breakdown, and maybe that'll jog his memory a little bit. So
Well,
specifically,
give us your thoughts on what you think of the red alert.
Helps if I unmute my mic. I think it's absolutely fantastic that they added in the red alerts that are Nakul focused. This is something that I've been kind of asking for since I've come on the show with the Iconian arc. I was saying that they should have put in Iconian red alerts to kind of give it the real feel that there's actual plausible Iconian threat in our little Star Trek universe. I don't know if they've heard me or what happened, but I'm really glad that they put in the red alerts in with the new cool stuff. It's something a little extra to do. My opinion of it is it's a little easy, but it's fun nonetheless. I like how it's they put it in the queue system, so it doesn't bug out like the other red alerts where you'll either have you end up soloing yourself by yourself, which isn't a necessarily bad thing for some of us, but could be a bad thing for somebody who is brand new to the game and doesn't have the kind of firepower that some of us have in here. But now with the red alert, it kind of ensures that 5 people are in there. Doesn't really take much teamwork, but I'm really glad that they put it in there. I think it'll help immerse people that there's a cool thing going on.
I have to agree with
story,
Zeph.
bro.
Yeah, I have to agree with Zeph. The new queue, there are some things that I find disappointing, and there are things that I do like. I really like the fact that it's not time gated. That is the big one. It's so basically you can plow through it really fast and not spend enforced 15 or 20 minutes because of timers or whatnot. This is really good. So you're in, you're out, and move on to something else. The disappointment for me is that it only comes in normal difficulty. I really hope or wish that this queue could have an advanced or even elite difficulty. Maybe not in the sector space, but put it as a private only queue and form that way, and you'd be able to form advanced and elite content with that. That would be absolutely fantastic. I would love to fight elite Nakul NPCs. That would be fantastic, actually. As it is right now for the high-end players, it's like pretty much like a hot chainsaw through soft butter.
Ouch.
Good for marks.
There is one thing though, and Astro Zombie has encountered this, unfortunately, as a few other people. I'm going to mention Astro because he's the first one that I've heard of that's encountered it and had to pay a penalty for it. When the game lagged out as he was going into that red alert, it knocked him offline. Came back on immediately, and he had a lever penalty. So it kind of sucks that through no fault of his own, he had to suffer a lever penalty attempting to play this red alert.
I would say in the last 2 months or so leading up to season 11.5, that's becoming more and more common. Getting dropped in a failed queue with or getting a lever penalty when you deserve one. That's happening constantly. I even tweeted about it, if you remember.
Yeah. One of the things I notice is that if you get booted out of a queue, say a queue you've X'd up for, like ISA or CCA, and you get booted out, even if you get right back into the game, it will put you, it used to, a long time ago, put you back into the one that you left. No problem. But now, in the last couple months, it's been putting you in just a random in progress one, and then because you're not on the team, it boots you out and then implements the lever penalty. in the queue. So it's not the first time I've heard of that. I've had that happen to me actually a few times. Yeah.
GG.
All right, folks, with 11.5, skill revamp, a little bit of focus on that. What do you think? Good, bad, ugly? How are people receiving it that you've seen so far?
Good.
People are receiving it very well, and I think they should. A lot of work went into this. A lot of player feedback went into this. At some point, it's not just Cryptic that created it, but a lot of our feedback helped. I can't take personal responsibility, but I know a lot of people that were very active in contributing time and data and things like that, and those people should get props too, and I don't think that they have.
Overall, I'd say it would be good. There have been a few detractors, but quite honestly, they just haven't tested it. They're going off of what someone else has said. It's everybody here on the board can agree, and I couldn't tell you how many people I've seen either in game or on Facebook groups where they've been praising this new system.
I don't know any super informed players that hate it, put it that way.
It's certainly interesting, the way it's different for one thing, and change is not always bad. Generally, it is simpler, so it's going to be easier to pull new players into the game with this new skill revamp. It's going to make builds a lot simpler. And here's the thing: you can do quite a bit of things. You can. It's certainly very, very flexible. Now, in general, I think a lot of people are going to go for the balanced approach. We're having roughly the same amount of points in each track. Personally, I'm with SOB here, and I think a lot of the higher ups in the DPS league are the same way. We're going for the science ultimate. There is another group of high-end DPSers that are going for the tactical ultimate, and I guess it becomes a choice. Because for the Science Ultimate, it's really a solo buff. It buffs yourself more than the team. Though the debuff, that counts for the whole team, I think. So yeah, it gives you a debuff and the whole team a little bit of a debuff as well. So that works. The tactical requires team coordination. So it's kind of like the TFIF and the pulse thing, where you have to agree ahead of time who's going to be triggering what and when at which point in a run. So it requires a bit of team coordination. So for those people who like to run very intensive team runs, that I guess the tactical is going to be superior in that end. The engineering one, though. I know I'm probably going to annoy a lot of engineers out there, although just to put it out there, just because you're an engineer doesn't mean you have to go for the engineering ultimate. I'm a tactical captain with the science ultimate. You can mix and match and put whatever you want in there, and I can smell the rage from Reddit all the way over here because I said that. The engineering ultimate, it just seems a little bit weak to me.
Subpar. No, it's subpar. It's definitely subpar. Like I said, most of the people I know that have tested it came away disappointed.
And I do want to point out too, for the tactical ultimate, that is a mark on a target, meaning if you mark it on a target and the target dies before the full time is up, you lose the remainder of that buff. The science ultimate is just a clicky that you don't have to mark on anything. It will be there the full 30 seconds or 15 if you don't put that point in, no matter what.
So quick question, SOB. It's got a 2-minute cooldown, right? Does the cooldown start when you click it or after the power's off?
I believe the cooldown starts as soon as you hit it, and I thought it was 90-second it was changed to.
I'll have to double check that. I thought I saw 2 minutes, but it could be the that UI issue where if you're like 1 minute and 1 second, it'll show you 2 minutes. So yeah, it's entirely possible.
Now, one thing I haven't had to test. No, you're fine. one thing I haven't had to test beforehand was if you kill a target with the Science Ultimate still up and you hit another target on there, I'm assuming that it's not going crit, you debuff that target. So if you do multiple crits on multiple targets, they all get that debuff, correct?
Yes, because it's a
Correct.
power that applies to you.
Okay, so it's for me, I'm getting that debuff on target. So I'm going to be testing that build out. Initially on Tribble, it looked like it didn't work at all for what I had on there, so I'm just going to be testing that out again on Holodeck later on because I have free respec to burn, so I will use that and see exactly how it affects Torps. I'm going to lose a lot of bound powers to help me move and a little bit of shield defense, but just drop everything to Aux, pop that thing, and see how many cubes I can kill in one shot.
I do have a quick tidbit about the Tribble server. I've been informed that it should be coming back up soon. Trademark.
Thank you very much for that message.
There was a lot more in this patch, by the way. I think we should go over those as well.
Yes, we're actually going to move on to the next one there. Before we get onto the actual ships, what about the ship visuals? They actually added another tab in there where you could kit out your ship. Space Barbie is real now?
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, it's so essentially if you have been oblivious to the updates that have been coming forward for Star Trek Online, what they've done is added a separate tab in your ship menu that allows you to put slot space sets that give you visuals. So if you like to use the Nakura shields but want like the Mako visual, which gives your hull that nice carbon fiber look, you now have that ability. And me personally, I think that is really awesome. The Mako effect is by far one of my favorites, and like I always rock the Iconian shield, but now I can rock the Iconian shield with the Mako adapted look, and I think that is a really awesome touch to add into the thing.
It's real and it's spectacular.
One sec, I just want to comment on something that was said in chat for Ernest. He's wondering if it's possible to over-specialize with the ultimates. No. Well, it depends. For the engineering, yes, for sure, you can over-specialize in engineering. Tactical, not so much. The reason why I say people are going to be mostly balanced, a lot of people are going to balance it out, is because you really don't need more than 9 points in tactical, for example, to maintain and actually exceed the amount of damage you did before the revamp. So, you can go very light in tactical and do the same amount or even more damage than you did before. Science, I'll put it out there, you cannot over-specialize in science. Everything in the science tree is absolutely fantastic. And personally, I didn't mind putting so many points, 26 points into science or something like that, because I do like to fly science, and sometimes I'll have a control build, sometimes I'll have a crusher build, sometimes I'll have a drain build, and just having those points in there is really beneficial. I can still hop from ship to ship and different classes without worrying or needing a respec or anything like that. Sorry, I brought that back.
That's a good point. I think a lot of people were worried with the new tree. What I heard was that they were worried they weren't going to be able to jump from ship to ship and have multiple builds or multiple build outs on different ships with the same tune. And with if you put a lot of points inside, if you spec into the drain expertise, the control, the particle gens, and that does give you that flexibility, that generalist that a lot of people were looking for.
I still personally think that they should come out with a second spec tree that you could buy and then flip-flop between the two, where you have one spec for like your specialized build and another one for more a generic feel or fun build if you want to switch your build loadout completely. But I'm the oddball here, so that could work out.
No, they got to fix build loadouts before.
Yeah, I
It's like
know, I
loadouts.
know, I know. But if I'm going to suffer, at least let me suffer with some sort of enjoyment with it. You know, give me a
I,
little
I
bit of something
I
else.
I fear loadouts because loadouts are the sources of most of the bugs where people lose items.
Yeah, yeah. Lootcritter has suffered enough on that one
Yeah,
already.
and he's
I
and
have my
it's
scares on.
LC who is not an idiot. You know, like if it's in his overflow bag or somewhere, he'll find it. That's not what happened.
No, no. What else do we want to make a note of on here? The ships themselves. What do you think about the new lockbox offering there, Spencer?
I think that it's interesting that they have a battle cloak, but they're not that great. For example, I'm gonna quote Fane here. Just he was messing around with the battle cruiser. He got it out of a lockbox, and he parsed the trait it has. It did a whole 100 DPS for him.
Oh, wow.
Wait,
And
you mean 100K, right?
no, just 100.
Ooh.
And the other issue is that while a battle cloak is nice, as a Fed you can't really get the infiltrator bridge officers, so you have a 5-second ambush, which is just trash. It's one of the things with the Romulan battle cloak is you can get 15 seconds there.
15 seconds or more. I think my Riemann has 24 seconds, something like that.
Yeah, you can stack them.
Yeah, it overlaps if you do it correctly.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's absolutely right. It's great battle cloak for feds and some Klingons, but without those bridge officers that the Romulans have, I guess the ships are great for Romulans. You have the battle cloak and no singularity to mess with. So in that regards, but the ships themselves, I'm not too impressed. They are overpriced. They're definitely overpriced. There's been quite a bit of inflation in the ship market, and I'm not too happy about it. I think it's really undeserved. And this battle cruiser coming out, and it's in the 700 mil range. To be honest, I don't think I'd pay over 200 mil for any of these ships. They're
Yeah,
not worth it.
the issue is that they put this science ship out. This is a 3/3 right after they released the Paradox as the lobby ship in the previous. So you're trading out the hangar bay and that extra 4 weapon or a battle cloak that you can't really take advantage of. I don't know why anyone would use this science ship over the Paradox. I really don't.
Hell, even
Can we?
the Krenim science vessel is, I feel, is better in that regards. It has a better console in there. It doesn't have the battle cloak, but really, it's the battle cloak isn't used that much. It doesn't give that much of an advantage, really, because to get the maximum out of a battle cloak, really, you have to really micromanage your timings down to the second. So, for example, you decloak, you activate fall or whatever power you have, you let it go for the 10 seconds, and then you have like 3 or 4 seconds where you don't have any abilities. You hit your cloak, you wait for 5 seconds for the cooldown of the cloak to come off, and then you decloak again and get the ambush bonus again on top of that, and you have to rinse and repeat, basically cloaking every 15 seconds. So you can have a 5-second pause in between there where you're not doing any damage, just so you can get the benefit of the ambush bonus. Yeah, it's not worth it.
I would disagree with that to an extent. For some builds, it could be worth it, but like what you said earlier, you do have to micromanage it. You have to micromanage your cooldowns. You have to micromanage when you're cloaking and decloaking. Is it you're engaging the target first, or whether your allies are going to engage first, and then you come up, get flanking, and then decloak? Let loose your alpha and then get the heck out of there before you become the target. Although I will say this now, the threat in this game is almost a non-issue unless everybody is spec'd into a threat reduction. Then you start playing on an even playing field. But if you have one person there who's attempting to draw threat and has threatening stance on, woo, night and day difference. So with your battle cloak, you spec into your cloaking, so you have a little bit of cloak buffs going on there. I mean, yeah, that's more of a
There's
PvP thing.
also that skill regarding threatening stance where you generate more or less threat reduction depending on if it's on or off as well, which even further complicates that situation.
Yes, sir. And when you have that, you can definitely tell between what I used to do on Holodeck to try and not even try and draw threat, but I still do, to now it's like, oh man, I could just sit here and waylay on this thing and I'm not drawing any heat.
Piss everyone off in a circle.
It was fun. It was fun. But yeah, I do agree with Sarcasm Detector here that these ships are extremely overpriced for what they are and what they bring to the table, battle cloak included. Is it fun? Possibly, yeah, depending on your build and how you want to fly it. But as far as, you know what? How about this? We'll go into more detail on it a little bit next week. We'll draw up some things, and I'll see if we can get one of these two over here, the ship, to go play around and give a detailed analysis on its performance. How about that? Okay, going on here with this. SOB, what do you think of all the preparation that Cryptic has done for the weeks leading up to 11.5 to be able to mitigate latency, client-server performance issues, and connectivity issues as well?
Oh, they fixed something there? So it was starting to get worse before the season launched. I mean, you'd have to wait until the middle of the night to get a good run in, like ISA was. But I would say if they were trying to prepare for 11.5 with their servers, they have completely failed in that regard with the amount of lag I've seen.
I'd agree. It hasn't been this bad for a long time.
Yes, it's just unbelievable how bad the lag is. Hive is virtually unplayable.
It's across the board, too.
Yeah.
Pretty much everyone I play with is complaining of the same lag.
I mean, I went into an ISA right after I got in yesterday, and it was just a pug team. We didn't even start shooting. Us just moving to that first cube, we were starting to go back and forth. I saw everyone going back and forth, us pausing for a second. It took us probably about 10 seconds to get to that cube when it should have taken a second. It's just terrible lag. It really hasn't been this bad in a long time.
Oh yeah, it's really bad, and makes me wonder at the capacity that the server has.
Yep.
Are we like limited to like 10 instances of ISA on the server running concurrently? What's the deal?
No.
We know that every season and half season and expansion, a whole lot of people log in en masse. Could it be that the server is overloaded? The servers are overloaded, and why didn't they plan for this? They know this happens every single time they make a seasonal or half seasonal release. And I think I have a theory here, is that these patches that we've had in the past where they say, oh, doing back-end server stuff, makes me wonder if they're turning off servers, removing servers, moving them over to somewhere else, like Neverwinter, for example, or the Xbox Neverwinter, because I believe they did that a while back when they released it. Instead of getting new hardware for this newly released platform, they just took stuff from STO and moved it over there. So it makes sense in a business sense, and really the people who are making these decisions at Cryptic and PWE are not gamers. Let's be honest here. The big shots that make these decisions
The big shots are. The guys closer to us are.
Well, yeah, I'm not talking about the guys closest to us. I'm talking about the big shots. These guys that are making the decisions are not gamers, so they're penny pinching and squeezing, and it's it fattens their wallet, which is it's not a bad thing. It's a business, but
Well, they look at us as a bunch of metrics.
Agreed.
I just want to say, it's not even 10 ISA instances. I forget what day it was. I think it might have been last Thursday. Myself and some others went and we did some runs. We looked, it was laggy. We go and look at the amount of instances shown in the during game window, and it didn't even have that many. I think overall, between all of the PvE queues, there were less than 20 up, and it was lagging.
No, well, that's a reporting error. That's a bug. That's a reporting error.
Huh.
Could be. We have no way of knowing.
Wow, I see what you did there. That's all I'm saying. I will say this though, that even though there has been changes on the network side, Cryptic, that I can see, player side facing, there have been some changes with it. Starting from last year when I first saw their PNAP come up, or at least I first noticed it. It seems that they've expanded on it a bit, but I'm not sure exactly what type of long-term plans they have for it, or how they're feeding data into it, and if they have the rule configuration set up properly for it. Who knows? But we'll see in the near future, and hopefully we'll be able to correspond with somebody who is doing network and sysadmin work over there for Cryptic/PWE, and we'll get a couple questions answered that way. In the meantime, though... Go ahead.
So, not even the devs are immune, and this is absolutely freaking hilarious. Did you watch the live stream that they did last week on Friday?
Yep.
I felt really bad, actually.
Yeah, so that was
a train wreck.
That was absolutely horrible. I mean, there were so many things wrong with that. But let's not focus on like the trendy drumming on the table through half the thing when the drumming was louder, or her ums per second. I mean, if we were going to make a drinking game with, take a shot every time Trendy says then we'd probably get alcohol poisoning within like a couple of minutes. Some of the other ridiculous stuff, there was SNRs, lag. Some people were saying it was basically a PowerPoint presentation. So even the devs themselves, when they're trying to showcase stuff, are not immune from the lag. And this just goes to show that it's really affecting everyone.
Yeah, Lootcritter, nobody's blaming Trendy for anything in this. We're just saying that Trendy has experienced it as well, so they're seeing it. It's not like we're making this stuff up and they don't experience it. They've experienced it. It's on record that they've experienced it. That's all we're saying. So we're going to move on with that. Speaking of Lootcritter here anyway, he was also... Bad. Go. What?
Sorry, I was delayed a little bit. Go ahead, Marshall.
No problem. I was just saying, speaking of Lootcritter here anyway, he also has a write-up on his assessment of 11.5's release and a couple other opinions, and we will also include that link to his blog on the show notes. And anybody else has any closing thoughts before we move on?
There's a couple of things we seem to have skipped over, like the featured episode and the new specialization.
Well, I thought we already took care. Well, wait, hold on a second. I thought we were going to discuss that in through there. Never mind. I messed up. My bad. You know what? Let's go with Strategist and how it should be nerfed. Go.
Fuck, we're doing it live.
Wait a minute, what?
I will end you, Odin. I have stolen that line from Cam. I will end you if you want to nerf that.
I might actually
Yeah.
join Sarcasm and
The back
Spencer
of
on the.
SOB hand is taking a threatening stance. Everyone panic.
Please, y'all couldn't handle me on your best days.
How big is that bucket you just held out for the QQ merch? When you
Oh,
said that?
I got freaking bathtubs ready to go for this. All right, how many of you all combined with the I forget was it the captain or the admiral science spec skill point where you put a skill point into it and then any critical hits you're immune to it? What the hell is that all about? Combine that with a torpedo immunity from strategist? What?
The shield mastery thing's actually pretty bad, Odin.
How is it bad? Please explain that. How is it
In
bad?
PvE, you're
Damage
facing.
feedback isn't great.
Yeah, you're facing enemies in PvE that have the base crit chance 2.5%. So, and then it can trigger once every 20 seconds, and then even if they manage to crit on you, it has a 20% for feedback. That is just trash.
Yeah, it's
Oh.
very good.
And it's limited.
Well-
It's you only get like 10k damage or 20k damage if you boost it up, something stupid like that, which is like one shot from my beams maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, but who cares about PvE? That's too easy. Seriously.
There's PvP in this game still.
Well, some people actually would like to PvP and actually have a challenge every once in a while, but there's so much immunity cheese. And what do? Add more immunity cheese into the game. Between that and
then
the
we wanted-
strategist?
Okay,
Frank wanted to point out the shield mastery is only immune to one critical hit once every 20 seconds. So it's not a constant.
No,
That's still
but
a critical hit that could like make or break a match. Like, for example, if Odin's coming
True.
in for like an alpha strike, and that torpedo is a primed 600k DPS torpedo, we've seen it before, and then all of a sudden that immunity thing kicks in. It's like, bum 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 bum. Nope, denied.
True.
Oh, all right.
I
Let's try
like
another.
the sound
I-
effect.
Let's try another weaker alpha strike. Okay, I got you down to 0. Oh, look, immunity cheese kicked in again. You can't kill me.
Huh.
It's just, I think they need to lay off the immunity cheese and maybe focus on something else than things to keep people alive. I think we have enough of those systems in place, personally.
which brings me to the other point, though, within strategist itself, where you are immune to a torpedo hit for crying out loud. So that kicks in, and then the shield mastery kicks in, and then I get 20% of that 600k in my face, and then, okay, I survived that. I'm coming back to hit the guy again, and then there's more immunity cheese.
but what you're not realizing is that with their coding, with that, all of these things are going to where it triggers off you being hit. They're all going to trigger off that same torpedo or that same hit on that person.
Wasn't that way when we tested it on Tribble?
Well, that's how I figured it'd work. But for the strategist specialization itself, I just want to say I've been messing with that on some tank aggro builds, and it is just amazing. I haven't
Agreed.
tested it on a non-threat build because everything I'm doing right now is plus threat. But it's the cooldown reduction, the taunt from the tier 2, which will out-taunt basically every other taunt. It's just amazing. Now, if we can only get people to stop dropping those deploy sensor interference platforms and STFs when they're pulling no threat, that would be good.
Public service announcement: if you are in a pug with Spencer, drop those platforms
Sensor
everywhere.
platforms. Yep.
Everywhere.
He
Chain
loves it.
Oh,
He does. He does.
Bring a bucket to collect all the QQ.
Hear him rage on TeamSpeak, too. We'll give you the address later.
I just want to say one thing about the strategist spec. Now, we've had a bunch of these specs come out since Delta Rising came out, and really, when Delta Rising came out, we got the intel, and the intel was fantastic. We got the command, and that was really disappointing, I'm sorry to say. We got pilot, which was kind of so-so. Pretty much every single spec that has been released since then has been either bad or mediocre up until we get this one. And Odin, disregard the immunity, disregard the whole torpedo thing. What are your thoughts on the strategist? Because I personally think that we have really got a good one here.
I would say we do. I mean, speaking on behalf of the kinetic community here, if you could macro a rolling heal on yourself, do it, because the freaking crit that you get from that is insane. It's insane. Don't turn on your threat. Heal yourself on occasion, pretty much on cooldown, and fire away. Boom, you win. You also have a poor man's feedback pulse in the other branch of that tree, I believe tier 1 if I remember correctly. And that thing is just stupidly powerful. I just couldn't believe it. I'm like, what? I could zap people when they hit me with a poor man's feedback pulse for 300% of the damage reflected back at them? That no.
It's not 300.
No.
It's not 300%. That's it says 300, and then below that says maximum 10,000 damage. Yeah, it's remember the devs that designed this can't even get 10k, so it's garbage.
Well, all right. Garbage as far as compared to what the players can do with their feedback pulse. But for people who don't spec into it, okay, you throw some extra damage back on your target. All right, yeah, that's pretty freaking cool. But yeah, the 10k threshold, yeah, take it or leave it. It's something. It's there. If you already have spec points off the wazoo, you might as well just fill it up and say, okay, I can actually hit something that was annoying me. I'll eventually target later. For those people who don't use fall and just bang their head on the space bar 24/7. Yeah. I will say this, though. The cooldown that you have there, whenever you're going into an AoE group, pop that thing and forget about ever burning another cooldown. Just go all sorts of buck wild crazy nuts on an AoE group. It's stupidly overpowered. This whole thing is just stupidly overpowered. It's great. This is what this type of feeling should have been there for Command and Pilot, but more so for Command. Like, this should have been what Command is. Give it the exploits though, but still, yes, that's exactly what Command should have been on its release.
All right, I just want to point out something. Someone said in chat that they got more than 20k damage out of it. I'll just read the power right now. Counter-offensive 1. This can trigger once every 15 seconds and reflect a maximum of 10,000 damage. That's the first one. The second one is triggers once every 10 seconds, reflect a maximum of 10,000 damage. And the third one... So, yeah, that reflect is garbage. Now, I just want to mention something else here that I just thought about. So we have this strategist that kind of works in line with threatening stance, whether it's on or off. It is possible. I'm thinking that there might be a possibility to actually run some of the Krenim consoles in there instead of the embassy consoles, since if you have, well, if you want like threat reduction, you already have that with threatening stance, and you get the benefit from strategist. And you know what, if you're running a tank and you're running 3 Adaku cons, then really you don't need the embassy consoles. I mean, I was doing a ISA run with Porch, and Spencer, you know how much threat I generate normally. I mean, I can blow away some people who are dedicated tanks with the threat that I generate. And the only difference between me and Porch was that I was running 1 Adaku Con and he was running 3, and he just blew my threat out of the water. He had like 60 or 70% of the threat. I had 20%, and the rest was spread out between the rest of the team. So I'm thinking that it might be a possibility to switch from embassy consoles over to something else, the Crenum consoles in that regard.
Also, I
Maybe.
just want to jump back quick for the counter-offensive. I was just looking at a parse I did earlier on my Sci, and I had a max one hit of 92.6k.
So it must be getting buffed by something.
Interesting.
Now, hold on a second. It is exactly like feedback pulse, no?
Yes.
And we know there's an issue with feedback pulse.
Yes.
Oh no.
And we'll talk about that in a few minutes, but not now.
I'm already going to sit back on this one because if this is going where I think it's going, oh no, not again.
Well,
Oh,
so
go
okay,
on.
there's a bug with feedback pulse, and it's going to be fixed. So if you're enjoying the damage you do with feedback pulse, enjoy it while you can, because it's not going to last very long.
You leave my feedback pulse alone, damn it.
It's too late, Spencer.
Incoming Nerf bat.
Yeah. I do want to talk about the featured episode a little bit. Have you guys had a chance to play it yet?
Yes.
I have not.
Yep, I got through it. I didn't see any of the bugs people were complaining about, but I know that there are reports of them.
Yeah, I heard of some people talking about bugs, but I didn't see any myself either.
Basically, the last something about the last mobs getting stuck in walls or something like that.
Yeah, I didn't have any experience with that personally.
I believe.
That doesn't mean it isn't there.
Yeah, I believe it. I don't think it's all that surprising. It used to happen in Bug Hunt all the time. But that is what I hear. I had no problem completing it, but others have.
There is one really interesting thing that I caught while I was playing the featured episode last night.
Spoiler alert!
Spoiler alert, just saying. But at the ending credits, there was a quote of, "We've got our work cut out for us. I suspect we'll have to recruit more temporal agents to deal with the incursions of this magnitude." And we've seen with the trailer that Perfect World put out for 11.5 at the end with the Connie and the 5516. And in other interviews, Gecko hinting at the possibility return of like a Delta recruit or some sort of equivalent. So is that the hint of what kind of quote-unquote Delta recruit we're going to have coming, or like maybe a temporal recruit program, same kind of thing, but
could be.
now you
Remember
gotta do something else.
how popular Delta Rising was because of the recruits and all the free stuff?
Yeah. So
Yes.
I'm hoping that was an Easter egg that they planted for. My guess is that is the 5516. And
Wouldn't be the first time there was a subtle call out to something. I mean,
no.
I have to give them credits. I have to give them credit. Their writing is pretty good. You know, I've brought people into STO that have never played an MMO before and are just massive Star Trek fans, and I get them every time by telling them, "Oh, you know X storyline? Well, guess what? You know the neural parasites and Iconian War, and you know that's enough to suck them right in."
Personally, I would actually like to see the stories developed a bit more. I understand they have deadlines to meet and whatnot, but I personally would like to see the stories develop much more than what they are right now. There's some that are very good for how short they are, but I would like to see a bit more development into the story to keep it more interesting.
It's not always consistent. You're right, or at least it doesn't feel that way.
If I may, on the story development part,
Mm-hmm.
massively OP MMO blog actually had an interview with Gecko that they released today, along with the contest that we'll talk about later. But in the article itself, Gecko was actually talking about how they're noticing a trend that with each season it's a major conflict. And I think I've actually said this in the past too, that whenever there's new stuff coming out, it's always, oh no, the universe is doomed. We got to do everything in our power to kind of defend ourselves, and we've kind of lost the essence of what Star Trek actually is, which is seek out new life, new civilizations, yada yada yada.
To quote Picard, does anyone remember when we used to be explorers?
Right? But Gecko made mention that they do realize that that's going on. And with this season, this expansion, I don't know, 11.5, even though there is some sort of a threat, it's not going to be so much heavily focused on like how the Iconian arc went, where it was just battle. There's going to be more of a story aspect to it. So they said that they don't want to do what they did in the Iconian arc with this one. So I'll be interested to see how it plays through for the rest of season 11.5 and see if they actually stick true to that path.
Interesting. Wasn't it actually Steve Ricosa with the interview on Massively OP?
Oh, it might have. I don't know. I read it while I was at work today and trying to do other things.
Go ahead, Kirby.
I was going to say, to continue this speculation a little, I did notice on Twitter, Will Wheaton tweeted a picture of him and Jonathan Frakes saying they were doing voiceover work on something they can't talk about. So maybe, I don't know, crossing fingers, hoping.
Speculation.
Maybe we'll see them, yeah.
Rabble. Now, just to go back to the
Yeah.
featured episode a little bit, I'm not going to give away any spoilers, unlike our holographic buddy here. But I did get the feeling that I'd done this before. The episode just seemed repetitive, familiar. It's very familiar to the previous episodes. Somehow it's just, go there, talk to some people, and then something happens, and then you go into space.
Delegates.
Yeah, exactly.
Meet in a conference room, then fight.
And then fight on the ground, and then fight in space, and then fight on... Yeah, it was just very much the same.
Not the strongest episode I've ever seen from them in terms of writing. And some episodes lately, especially, have been very good. So this only stands out because it's kind of mediocre in comparison to some of the stuff we have been getting.
Well, and Odin, you made mention of more story development. I'm going to ask this question of you, and everyone else can answer this one too. What would you like to see them put out story, like as a mission content? Like, would you want to see them just eliminate the battle aspect but make it more of a investigational type of thing?
Captain Proton!
Like, what would you like to see them focus more on with missions going forward?
There's not so much abandon the battle one, because the battle ones seem to be intriguing to me, and I would like to be able to have some sort of a fault tree per se, where you can actually go ahead and make strategic decisions that'll actually play out within the story. If you choose A and then C and then Q, this outcome will happen, or this event will happen. You either get this bonus or this event, something like that happens. So you go through this whole fault tree, and then here's your end result based off of those actions. So the actions within the story can have different effects throughout the story. Now, I understand that takes a bit more development, but that would be very interesting. It also increased the replayability of that story. So I have to go through and play it for the mission rewards. Something like that would make me want to play it to see all the possible outcomes, and the mission rewards would be the extra candy on top of it, instead of the mission rewards are what's going to get me to play it, but I want to skip every single cutscene. I want to skip this whole thing. This is more of an annoyance. It's a chore. Let me be done with this thing. I'm not going to take the time to see the detail that they put into this thing. I'm not going to be immersed in the actual story itself because it feels like a chore and it feels like a drag on the story itself. Give me the if I do decision A, F, and Q, here's this outcome. I go back again, I choose B, G, and Z. Here's a different outcome. But overall, it kind of still leads to the general story arc for that season or half season. We could also do something else for an exploratory style mission. I actually wrote this thing up on Reddit beforehand, where you could have, using the Admiralty system, mind you, and here's another tie-in for that, send these ships out to be able to do these things, and you actually go out to this, whether it's an instance or this other sector space, and then start exploring planets, and then seeing, okay, bring these other ships from your Admiralty system that you have with you, and then based off of what random events show up, you can get bonus rewards based off of the outcome of it, or whether you achieve it or can't achieve it and you have to skip it, whatever. But stuff like that makes the game more dynamic, and you can actually dive into it. Then you feel more drawn into the game itself. And then from there, you get more players coming in. So if you're not like a DPS king or queen, no big deal. You can actually go into the exploratory system here. If you want to be able to roleplay a bit more while you're doing a story mission with your team, you can do this and then make those decisions together and then see what the outcomes are. And then you can enjoy it and play the R.I.P. within the story missions itself. And that would feel like an actual Star Trek environment instead of a video game with a Star Trek skin slapped on it.
Yeah, I think I was just thinking, and Frank actually must be reading my mind. Midnight. It sounded like they were trying to go with that route. Midnight being the final Iconian episode, where you had the option of picking whatever you wanted, but it still ended up being it didn't matter if you picked A, B, and C. You're gonna still end up at X. So it seemed like they were going in the right direction with that, but they just need the other half to kind of work with that dynamic, a little bit of like a Mass Effect dynamic, if I may.
Yes, something similar to that. It doesn't have to be a direct rip, but you could take the concept for it and then make it your own.
Yeah, I think that would help. I think that would help people get more immersed, and actually maybe. I know some people just rush through the featured episode just to get the thing. They don't really pay attention to any story. I think that might actually bring players back to actually enjoy the story and actually take their time and like read what's actually going on instead of just F-bombing all the way through, right?
Well, that and enjoy the environment and the detail, because, hey, look, the detail on most of the environments, they're done up right. They're done up nicely. You can enjoy it if you had a good story to enjoy it with and amplify the look and feel of the scenery.
I believe.
I don't know, but that's just me.
I think it was a step between stars. Yeah, it was a step between stars. The one where you take the gate. Do you find the gate inside the Dyson sphere, or whatever? Yeah, so when you're on that station, there's multiple options there. It was actually a little bit randomized because there are multiple paths you can take. You don't have the same path every single time. And then there are options you can choose within the mission itself, which give you a slightly different reward. So
That's right.
Yeah, there was 3 different EV suits, and you can get each one. And really, if you wanted the Lobby suit, you'd have to get all 3 to purchase the Lobby suit.
Right, I totally forgot about that. We need more of that, but more in a story sense. That was more geared towards, what defense protocols you'd encounter on the way through, right?
Yeah, well,
right.
So the RNG
Partially.
for that is like when you beamed onto the station, sometimes there would be a captain there and he would get shot in the back. Sometimes he'd already be dead. The path that you chose to walk, sometimes I think when you're running back, you could take the right path or the left path. Sometimes it differs. And then again, the defense protocols, like you said, you get when you're at the terminal and you get to choose whether you want no defense protocols or the lasers or whatever it was, and that is self-contained within that mission. Gecko, in an interview, I don't remember if it was the interview I did with him a while back or was a different one, he did talk about this. This was brought up, and he basically poo-pooed it. He said he would love to be able to do that. Unfortunately, it takes an exponential amount more of developer time to implement something like that, and they just don't have the resources for it, unfortunately.
Yeah, system resources alone would, yeah, and we can't even like get the lag handled right now.
All right, note to Cryptic: get the resources.
So I think is there anything else anyone else wants to say about 11.5?
So far, it's relatively smooth. Like I think I said at the very beginning of the broadcast tonight that compared to something like LOR, it was a relatively smooth release for the fundamental change that took place. Remember, this is the single largest fundamental change in SEO mechanics since launch, at least in my opinion. And it didn't set the servers on fire, and people can still kind of play right now.
I think that this was indeed a very smooth release, other than the wonderful lag. I feel that the only thing they could have done to have made this season better would have been to made all lockbox weapons account-wide, especially coalitions. That would have made everything better.
No. Yeah, maybe.
It is kind of odd
Well,
that cool dis are BTC. That's weird.
yeah, there is one bug, Sob, that we have noticed. I was talking about this with Yvette Regine on TeamSpeak the other day. Any fleet that has over 100 members right now is getting an error message saying that they're full and you can't invite anybody to your fleet.
Sorry, guys. Reddit's
So even though, yeah, so even if you haven't actually reached the maximum, which is, I believe, was it 750 now, or is it 1,000?
It's 500.
Okay, I thought I heard they had upped it.
At least Reddit
Anyway.
got a
Yeah.
direct response from CryptoRock saying it was 500 and it was supposed to be 500, and anyone over 500 was probably going to
Okay.
get into some trouble.
Okay, but yeah, right now if it's over 100, you're not going to be able to invite.
I think the only other piece of 11.5 that I have to say is thanks for the free stuff this week. Was it the first day we got 2 spec points, second day we got 12 free inventory slots, which actually helped because all of my pets and reward tribbles from tribble testing in the past years all duplicated and ended up in my overflow bag, and if I didn't have those 12 free slots, I would have been screwed.
Stop voting your triples hump.
And today's was a free tier 3 ship, so Thunderchild Heavy Escort, the Valdor Heavy Warbird,
Holy shit, the Valdor.
And the Koratinga class. Did I say that right? So if you haven't grabbed your free T3 ships, go do it. I've been informed that the Valdor Heavy Warbird is worth it for the console, so I have a Romulan at level 14 that I'm going to grind up to 20 just so I can get the ship at least, because, that's the other thing that kind of irks me. It's like, I'm not a heavy Klingon or Romulan player. Like, I have the alts made, but when they release the free ships in the Steam stores, I don't meet the level requirements for them. I wish there was a way that you could claim them and they just kind of sit in your inventory as a box, as That's what some C-store ships do when you purchase them,
Yeah.
like the T6 Audis, and they just sit there until you meet the requirements. Because especially if you're a new player coming to, like, say you were a new player and you started on Monday, and it's now Wednesday. It's like, oh, I'm Federation, and there's a free Thunderchild ship. This will be awesome for me for when I hit that level cap and I need a ship to use instead of using the one that you get from requisitions. But unfortunately, I'm only a level 10 and I can't get it, and I only have 24 hours to get it, and I have wife, kids, job. I can't get it. I wish they would kind of find a way to kind of loosen that restriction up so that way you can redeem it. Well, I know they can do it because I have an alt that's level 58. I got the free spec points, and it just, you can't unbundle it until you hit level 60. So I wish they can kind of carry that over to the free ships on the C-store when they release them.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. They do, on the other side of that, if you do have a tune that is leveled up, that does meet the requirements, claim it on that tune. It will unlock for every tune on the account in perpetuity. Meaning, so if you create a new tune later and you've already claimed it, you'll be able to claim it on the new tune when it does meet those requirements. So that is, if you have a tune that's already up there, even though it's not the tune you want to put it on, you can claim it and then go back to the other tune later and it'll be unlocked for you.
Yeah, that's unfortunately not my case in this scenario. I only have the one Romulan and one Klingon. I actually don't care about the Klingon ship, but the Romulan ship I'd like. Oh, one more thing, and I know Lootcritter and you guys will agree with me. Please, for the love of God, put a cooldown timer in the queue. Please, please, please.
What do you mean?
Yeah, what do you mean?
What do you mean, what do I mean?
The cooldown timer in the queue. Cooldown timer for what? In which queue?
In the STF thing shows you like how much time is left before. Oh wait, that is there. What the hell?
I've got an incoming communique from another member of the STO Builds team, you guys.
Oh, there's one. What am
Breaking news.
So Atem, who most of you guys know because he's done such a fantastic job in putting together things like our trait lists and things like that. You guys all know him from that, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Or you know who that is?
Yes.
So he's told me that there's a new version of this space skill template coming out with a bunch of validation, data validation, and fancy drop downs and shit, and he's very excited. And if he's excited, probably all of you guys should be too.
Yeah, he's not one to be easily impressed, so this should probably be good.
Yes, he likes good stuff, and this is probably good stuff. He just sent me a quick message saying that our listeners might be interested, and he's probably right.
Do we have a link, or is it just something that's in development and we'll catch it whenever we catch it?
It's probably going to show up in STO Builds. He says before the show is over tonight. That depends on how long we go, I suppose.
Yeah, well, we're doing a special on 11.5 release, so it'll be a little while longer.
Yeah, he's got time. So
yeah, he's got time.
Check STO Builds. If I get any updated linkage or anything like that, I'll be sure to pass it on.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I think that's
SOB.
Pretty much.
Sorry.
Oh, I forgot SOB. Are you still awake?
I am still awake.
I've heard you had some good news.
I had a report to put out.
Yes. So I just put out a video a few days ago revealing a very lovely bug and exploit with the greedy emitters trait from the Nandy from the last summer event. So there's two parts to this. First, I want to say though, we found it that we were discussing builds, myself and Cam, and I'd mentioned something and he'd mentioned how he'd heard something might be working a bit weird with it. So myself and Smoketh went and did some testing, and we just found how stupidly broken it is. So the first thing with greedy emitters, it's supposed to only resist 50% of your weapon power drain, but instead it's currently resisting all of it, which it's not really supposed to do.
Minor difference.
It's an old bug. This particular part of the bug has been around since it was released. No one really gave it too much thought. I mean, like, yeah, we definitely took advantage of that particular bug because really it was still, you could only use it once every 30 seconds and it just gave you a small spike.
It was
Not-
like the Hazari trait. It was broken from launch for months.
So the bad thing is, what Smoketh and I found was that you can keep this trait up 100% of the time. So you can drop things off your build easily if you're doing this. It gives quite an advantage. It's just really stupid and nasty. 100% uptime on resistance to all power drain, including weapons, is just crazy.
So just wrap your head around this particularly. It's a 100% uptime, no weapon power drain at all. And it's just stupidly easy to implement.
Indeed. And I think this will give you a little satisfaction, Cam, is a lot of the people that were hating on EPS are people that were using this trait.
Well, obviously, here's the thing with those people is that they pretty much put words into my mouth. When I'm talking about EPS, I talk about both the EPS itself and the mitigation. You can't have one or the other. You need to boost up your power recharge rate and you need to reduce the cost of the weapons. And yes, it's expensive. You need consoles, you need traits, you need different things to find a proper balance so you don't actually lose any damage. You want to gain damage from that thing. And these people are basically saying, no, this guy's full of it. You don't need EPS. You can just get away with mitigation. And it turns out that they were using an exploit, so they really didn't need EPS or any form of mitigation at all. So yeah, finding this bug was a little bit of a vindication. I'm really happy that it got reported. And yes, we reported it, and hopefully it'll be fixed soon. And I can't wait for the tiers. I know Spencer is really looking forward to it.
So one thing I want to point out too is there's been a lot of questions as to when the SCM DPS league table will be reset. We're going to wait for this and a few other things to be fixed before we do, because it's impossible to tell who's exactly using this trait. We can only speculate. And really, it's a trait that so many people had that it's just, yeah.
Pretty much. So it's this trait, the greedy emitters, once it gets fixed, and once they fix feedback pulse, the problem with feedback pulse, and yeah, it's getting fixed, is that it's benefiting from the strengthening strength issue, or the debuff. It's basically double dipping or triple dipping into debuffs. So that's getting fixed as well. Once these two things have been fixed, we are resetting the league. I don't think we've actually discussed if we're resetting the whole league or just a portion of it or just, the top 10 or whatever it is, but it's coming soon, trademark.
Now, I'm still wrapping my head around this here, because if I have over 125 weapon power and I trigger greedy emitters and I can roll this thing with enough cooldown reduction, all my beams are firing at full strength ad infinitum. And I'm vaporizing things. And
Yeah,
this is just
basically.
making me face palm so freaking hard. Oh, why?
So
This is
this
worse
is
Go on.
yeah, we figured this is the some of these really spectacular runs that have been going around, like the 200k plus runs. Not all of them, but we figure a majority of them, and some of these really stupid runs, like the 4-second CCA, where everything is hidden. Like there's no log. Mysteriously, there's no log for it, and you can't see the you can't actually see icons and stuff like that. I think that's what's going on here. And you know what? We have kind of gone back and reviewed some videos and just kind of looked for the greedy emitters icon. And yes, there are people have been exploiting this for a while. And they are going to be in for a rude awakening when this gets fixed.
Indeed. Remember, if anyone wants to send hate mail, it's at SpencerB96 in game. I've got buckets ready.
No, you're gonna need my
Mailbox
bathtub,
full.
son.
It says mailbox full, Spencer. I'm confused.
Aww.
Don't worry, Spencer. I've been in the paperwork. We've allocated you 100 times the amount of mail slots, so you will have plenty of hate mail storage.
Well, that's probably why there's the lag. Everybody trying to email you at once in game.
Something like that. Moving on after I'm done with the face palming on myself. AIN is actually compiling a list of players who are volunteering their time to be able to help other players with questions. So that way one or two or a few people aren't being bombarded 24/7. And if they're not online for whatever reason, because, you know, they have a life outside of STO, you can actually go to this list and see out of anybody here who's volunteering their time, who's on, you can ask them questions. And I believe he may be working on a specialty list there where he could list out what specialties there are. So if you need tanking, go see the Agronauts, and they'll have their listing there, whoever's volunteering. If you want to go for cheesy ship builds, SOB will be right there. He already gave his ad handle, so please ask him all about cheesy immunity cheese builds. Kinetics, I'm on volunteer. AIN's there as well. We have, I believe Ernest is also on the list there. He's also working on a couple side tour builds there right now. So, Ernest, when you have your build lists compiled, I saw one of them on ship builds, but yeah, keep up the good work. But if you have any other modifications, post them up there. So AIN is compiling this list. We'll put the link in the show notes. Thank you very much for doing this, because this then alleviates the strain from some of us who are constantly being bombarded with questions, and they can go relax while other people step up, or who want to step up can step up and then start helping out with those builds. This will also help people consolidate information and add to STO Builds Wiki, add to the pool of resources that we have as far as testing or seeing what's happening here, or something where we find a bug like greedy emitters, you know, where something like this probably wouldn't have been noticed if it wasn't for the combination of SarcasmDetector, SOB, and a couple other folks who more or less play around with different builds, different powers, and in seeing what the interactions are. This is only going to help all of us. And as we bring up other players and educate them and inform them of what's happening in the game, they can in turn help other people in the community enjoy the game more. So good job, AIN, in taking the initiative for this. We'll get you the recognition you deserve, and we'll put this link out there so that other people can see it. And we'll coordinate this with STO builds, so that way the help can not only be consolidated, but people can see the wealth of information that is up there.
That, and it'll make sure that none of the work is duplicated.
Yes, because if the work is duplicated, that's, you know, kudos, the work has been done, but it's been duplicated, and you kind of feel like the time has been wasted. It could have been advancing new knowledge instead of redoing the same knowledge over again.
We have some really impressively dedicated people in STO builds who are not me, who are responsible basically entirely for all of the content that's been posted there lately. All of these, and I mean, if you haven't checked them out, like the space trait list, I definitely strongly recommend that you do for self-education purposes. I mean, if I can learn, I read that list and I learned stuff. If I can learn stuff from that list, so can you.
I've actually went and taken a look at the wiki recently, and oh my gosh, it's been expanded since the last time I was in there. So yeah, there's a lot of helpful information.
It is.
That's what it's here for. It's here to answer those types of questions that don't necessarily require discourse, discussion. Like, I need a skill build for an engineer. I've seen that question pop up in Reddit chat half a dozen times in the last half hour. And it's there, guys, if you want to look for it. There's definitely some things like ideas and generalist builds and things like that to get you started. But the whole point is you have to take that final step. We can't do everything for you. No one really can. So in order for you to build something that you're proud of, you've really got to take that final step in figuring out what it is you want. We can only get you pointed in the right direction, and that's really what STO Builds is good for.
I want to move on to my favorite part of the show. The video section. Hey.
Go for it. Do it.
So
Do it
there's
now.
Yeah, we've got a bunch of videos we want to point out. Actually, not that many videos this week. So, starting off with our buddy Astro Zombie from PAL Gaming, he's released another video in his top 5 series. Now, I was supposed to be in it, and my part got cut, so it's not quite as funny as it should be. But it is still funny. I recommend you go watch it. This current one is 5 ways to be good at ground or something to that effect. Forgot the exact title, but no, go ahead and watch that. That is actually a really good, funny video, and hopefully we'll be making more of this series coming up soon.
I sense some snark and sarcasm in there somewhere.
Me? No.
Right. What about this new STO podcast that I'm hearing about? Give me some intel on this.
Yes. So there's a new STO podcast come out, and this was actually had been advertised for a few weeks at a time, or a month ahead of time, from my good buddy, the Joker, otherwise known as STO Phil from IQ Fleet, and I think the name of the show is Midnight Q. I highly recommend you guys give it a look-see. I think we'll provide a link to his channel. Yeah, we have a link to his channel. So when you get the chance, give it a look. They have just 1 episode out so far, which was on Saturday, and I guess there's going to be another one this coming Saturday. So it's basically a very fresh start out. Give it a look, guys. And the next person... Alan, you want to handle the next one?
He's not done defragging.
Twitch streamer Brandykins 1982. She plays a lot of different games, but I think a couple times a week she plays Star Trek Online. So we'll have a link for her stream for you guys to check out and pop in, say hi, tell her the show sent you. We were actually in there yesterday watching her play, what was it, Dragon Age Inquisition or something like that?
Yes.
I don't know. I can't keep up with these games. So there's that to check out.
And
what else do we have?
Speaking about streams, TimberWolf was on a fellow podcast, Dribbles and Ecstasy, last Friday.
TimberWolf, how was that on? How was that like?
It was interesting, considering I've listened to their podcast, but I'm not a part of their cohesive unit that they're used to. But they were very inviting. I was able to only stay for the STO part. I have been invited in for next week, so I can stay for the whole show next week for the other Star Trek topics that they do. And they're even going to send people that need build help to ask questions during that stream, so I'm definitely going to be referencing the new wiki for any knowledge that I might be shy on. But overall, it was really nice to be over there to not only to help out with what they might have been missing on some of the knowledge for builds or a different perspective, but just to hear their perspective of the games and what they're thinking about with the new changes. So it was nice, and I can't wait till next week to jump in and advertise the show, which always comes on Wednesdays at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard.
So we will have the link for the episode 212, which Timber was on. And Timber, why don't you pass them a message on from me specifically next time that you're on? This is actually directed at Sunseal. Tell her I'm a little bit miffed because a while back I did invite her to come on the show as a guest and never heard back from them.
I will make a note of it, and I will make a point to ask that question.
And just give it a growl as well, because...
Oh, absolutely. I'll try to... If you will, I will borrow some of your gravel when I growl. How about that?
No, you can have some of the sand. The kitty litter. No one touches my gravel.
No, because that thing stinks. It still stinks from SOB's cheese being in it. No, absolutely not.
That's where it belongs. I thought we all agreed on that.
What's going on here? Well, real quick though, what's going on here with Massively OP and doing a giveaway of some sort?
Quite a significant one.
Oh, yeah. So they have, I believe it was 5 keys that was provided to them by either Cryptic or Perfect World. There is some countries that are exempt from it. I believe Hong Kong, China, there's a few others that would be on the page. But essentially what it is kind of like a social media thing. Trying to bring in more people to kind of follow them on Twitter and on Facebook. So what happens is you get one ballot for following them on Twitter. You get another ballot for retweeting their contest thing onto Twitter. If you follow me on Twitter, you would have seen that earlier today. Then you get one for following, and then one for something else. I can't remember, but I believe you get a total of 4 or 5 ballots. And what they're doing is in 3 days or three days and a bit, they're going to be raffling off the redemption keys for a Vodwar Astica. So we will have that link in the show notes for you. Get on that, and good luck to anybody who enters. I entered, so I'm going to reserve a lot of that luck that I just gave out to myself because I wouldn't mind the ship, so I can do ship porn. Just saying.
Oh, please. You're always doing ship porn anyway. We appreciate that. Thank you very much. And good luck to everybody out there, and see if you can get that Astica and then give it to somebody you love, like Zeph Films or somebody else. Right?
Right.
You said someone you loved.
Wow.
Ouch. I see you caught that. Okay.
Someone you love. Or
I'm
Alan.
so glad you came back, Mikey. God damn.
Someone
Okay.
missed me.
Wait. Ding.
Glad to be back.
You're horrible. All of you are horrible, horrible people. That's why I love you.
You should keep us around.
Something like that.
This particular assemblage, this panel, this generation of the crew, so to speak, I think is my favorite. You know, I listened to the show a little bit before I joined it, and I mean, I miss Vel, I do, and there have been changes in the lineup and things like that. But who we have now, I mean, I'm pretty happy with it. Kirby was our final member.
Thank you.
Our fourth stone, or fifth element, if you will. Even though there are 7 of us. So yeah, sorry, I'm a
Way
little.
to math.
I've been, not sleeping and all that fun stuff, so I'm a little scattered. But I just did want to say that, one of the things that I missed the most being laid up was getting to join you guys every week, getting to join this community, getting to chat with you guys, stuff like that. That means a lot to me.
can we not shed a tear of joy? And
If there
I do want to point out on that note, Odin, that for anybody that's listening, our 1-year anniversary is coming up on May 4th. I went back and looked through it all, and May 4th is the first show that me and Odin ever did. It was on the pilot ships when they got released last year. So that is coming up. It is on a Wednesday, so I'm going to try and work with Odin, and we're just going to all get together and do a 1-year anniversary show.
It's time for a 1-year anniversary show while we are totally trashed.
Yeah, well, we'll try and get some of the best highlights over the past year. Maybe the best howl, the best gravelly performance by Sarcasm.
Just wait, like three fingers of scotch, and he's gonna start sounding like Barry White. It's gonna be the weirdest thing.
No, all right. You know what? I'm gonna do this for right now for all the KDF folks out there. Cryptic has until May 4th to fix the core costume issue, or else full Cisco is going to happen. There, challenge has been put out.
I kind of don't want things. I don't want things to get fixed just so I can hear that.
It's done. All right, Kirby.
Cryptic, mark that one won't fix in your database, please. We need full Cisco.
No, get it fixed.
Yes.
Get it fixed now. Kirby, bring us this week in Trek.
Yes. Okay, so this week in Trek. All right, we're at April 14th. In 1912, the ancient Earth steamship RMS Titanic strikes an iceberg and sinks, killing 1,523 humans. This was referenced in Voyager Year of Hell. And on April 16th, in 2151, the Enterprise NX-01 is launched from the episode Broken Bow of Enterprise. And in 2152, Archer, Tucker, and T'Pol discuss the Tamir and her early contact with humanity from the Enterprise episode Carbon Creek.
I actually like that episode.
Interesting. I did too. I thought that was pretty cool how they had the Vulcans that crashed and, integrated themselves into society, and it was supposedly her, grandmother, great-grandmother? I'm trying to remember.
Oh,
yeah.
Was one of the better first season episodes of Enterprise. There weren't many, but that was one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Really,
that's
no
what actually
show
drew
has
me
a
into
good
Enterprise
first
on that
episode.
one.
There's one other thing. The actor who plays the Section 31 guy in DS9, today is actually his birthday.
The guy, Luther Sloan. I can't remember his real name.
Yeah, Sloan. He's actually good. That was actually some pretty good acting there.
Too bad they killed them off.
Also in sort of Trek news, Terry Farrell, better known for Jadzia Dax, has finally joined
Twitter.
Yeah, joined Twitter. I think about 2 or 3 days ago after the New York Con?
So far, her posts are hilarious too. Her tweets are great.
Yeah, they're pretty funny. And there's a picture of her, Michael Dorn, and the other actress who played Ezri Dax on either side of Michael Dorn. Yeah. So, but yeah,
that's interesting.
That's wow. Okay.
I mean, those are two very beautiful women. It's hard to say who might be more beautiful out of the two.
I don't know. But if you want to follow her on Twitter, it's @4TerryFarrell.
The number 4.
Yeah, the number 4.
Well, that's easy to tell. They're equally beautiful, but in different ways. Jadzia had the more classical beauty, while Ezri had the more cute girl next door beauty.
Yeah, I'll give it that. I think Nicole DeBoer did a lot of soap opera type stuff, where Terry Farrell was actually a employed model.
All right. You know what? Yeah, I'm going to get away from my Klingon fantasies on that one for a moment and continue on.
Wowza.
Yeah, exactly. So, we have a couple things here for Sci-tech, and we're going to go over these things real quick. Timber, you had one over here for DNA water storage. in computer data. Actually, before we do that, though, bleeding off from the This Week in Trek to something also this week. Yesterday was the celebration of the first man in space, Yuri Gagarin, and thinking about how far we've come within, from when a man from from the Earth to the Moon was written to when we actually put a man in space, and then from there to how quickly we put a man on the moon. It makes us kind of look at
how
this.
we pretty much dropped the ball with the space program.
Exactly. So we need something to be able to get people more energized. Star Trek has been there to kind of keep people interested in space, so it didn't drop off the face of the planet. But we need something a little bit more energizing for the world to get fascinated with space and to see it. And so we have billionaires who are being altruistic in trying to invest into space and taking a quote-unquote business risk to be able to say, let's capitalize on space. Here's tons of resources for us at our disposal, and we'll do some exploration while we're at it. So, and this all stems from this type of celebration we have on launching Yuri Gagarin into space. So, Yuri's Night officially was yesterday, but all throughout the world, they'll be celebrating it throughout this week. So we want to say thank you, Russia, for putting a man in space, period, and then getting the U.S. into overdrive to be able to push the envelope of space further.
Yep. Russia's space program is to U.S. space program as AMD is to Intel.
That's a different debate altogether.
That's something else, but yeah, that's...
Yeah. So, sorry for that. Timber, go ahead with what you brought up here for Sci-tech.
Well, it does come into the whole computer debate because what's been going on is they've been testing basically a small gram of DNA for digital storage, a conversion of digital to biological storage, if you will. And the test is been successfully done to store 5.5 petabits of data, which is roughly 700 terabytes, into a single gram of DNA, which they were using a water-based DNA solution. But they're saying that the equivalent currently to this kind of storage is 233 3-terabyte drives, weighing 151 kilos to be the equivalency of 1 gram of DNA storage. And that's going to lead into the type of data storage you would see in a Federation starship's computer, with not just housing one planet's knowledge, but multiples across solar systems and star telemetry and everything else. Be able to compact that much data in something as small as a DNA gram fragment is actually quite impressive. And they're only expanding on this knowledge as we go. I can honestly see this becoming something in the future as your new medium for computer storage, and just throw away your old hard drives you have now altogether.
I'm looking forward to seeing more molecular circuitry in that field. We'll call them molycircs.
So we'll probably have our actual binaural gel pack, where not only is it storing more or less your firmware to be able to do complex instructions in a certain area of the ship, but you could also have it serve as a intermediary storage for data that needs to be quickly accessed for specific areas of the ship.
Absolutely.
Good deal. What else do we have on here?
I have a couple of things going on with the theme that we started last week and the week before with black holes. I might be a little bit obsessed with black holes, no jokes. But the first one here is a video which compares black hole sizes. Oh man, this is gonna be bad. It compares this different black hole sizes. It's actually an older video, but it popped up recently on one of my feeds, so that's actually pretty interesting. It compares everything from like a small black hole that's like 3 or 4 solar masses to something that's in the hundreds of billions of solar masses. So that the link to that video is going to be actually on the show notes. And the second thing I want to talk about is scientists have discovered a group of galaxies where all their central supermassive black holes are aligned with each other. So this is actually absolutely fascinating because these galaxies are far away from us, but they're also pretty far from each other. So statistically, it would be impossible for them to be aligned. So what I mean by aligned is that they're all basically rotating on the same plane, and their jets are all pointing in the same direction. Which one of the hypotheses is that these galaxies probably formed very, very early on, or the supermassive black holes in the center of them formed very early on in the age of the universe, when all these black holes were actually really close to each other. They probably formed in the same area, and so they are potentially quantum entangled with each other. And as the universe grew older, they, spread apart and became super far apart. But it is a fascinating article if you like reading some of these things about space. And the link to that is going to be in the show notes. It's from space.com, by the way. So I recommend you guys check that out.
Did you say quantum entangled and not gravitationally entangled?
Quantum entanglement is like the Ansible effect, if I remember correctly.
Yes, you'd have to read the article itself, but I believe they did say quantum entangled, not they are too far apart to be gravitationally entangled with each other.
This should be interesting. I will definitely be reading this article then. So I appreciate that. Quantum entangled Wait. Hold up. Time out. Are we seeing the precursor to wormhole physics here?
Oh.
I mean, entangled black holes. I mean, it is any more than that. It wouldn't be that much of a stretch of an imagination to see if we find out some new process within the universe or some new phenomenon in there, and if we could mathematically express it. It wouldn't be that much of a stretch then to see if we can entangle an endpoint in space, one endpoint in space to another, and then link it. Yeah, there's your wormhole. Done.
Yeah, that would be interesting if there's something like that. I mean, this was just recently discovered. So there's a lot of theories out there about it, or a lot of hypotheses. And I figure it's going to be probably half a century before we actually figure out what's going on.
Well, hopefully it's sooner rather than later, but we'll definitely need more young scientists to start being a little bit more imaginative and then coming up the ranks and saying, oh, yeah, we could figure this out. No problem. We got that done. Next mystery. So thank you, everybody, for listening here on the show. Any closing remarks from anybody real quick before we disband and hop back in game?
You okay, Alan?
Who?
His processors have been overloaded due to the
You just
puns
laughed.
that he's thinking about.
Who are you guys talking about?
these... No, I can't. No, just end the damn thing.
Computer, disengage humor protocol
Pull the
in
plug.
emergency role-playing hologram.
Oh my goodness.
Plug.
What the hell, man? What the
No,
hell?
I was just gonna say, Teacher's Corner for this week was go check out the same video as last week. If you're still confused a little about the skill tree, it's a good overview, if nothing else, so you can get familiar with it. So I put the link in the show notes.
Looking at your avatar definitely has me feeling some type of confused.
Down, Mikey. Down. You need to go see outside a little bit more. All right.
You're probably right.
Yeah. From everybody in the show, you all have a good night. We'll see you in game.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, guys.
Good night.